Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. I was one of those people who defended Ryzen 9000 series and hoped that this generation of CPUs are not just going to be a placeholder. But boy, I was wrong. If you're not living under a rock, then you already must have known that the Ryzen 9000 series CPUs are bad. Before we talk about performance of these CPUs, let's address the bug in the room. A lot of reviewers couldn't get this CPU to work because they were facing blue screen, random restarts, and all these problems could be subjected to the early BIOS that reviewers got. But let's just hope AMD fixes all these issues with consumer BIOS. This is the second generation of CPUs for this platform, and I think AMD have a curse. They only perform well when everything is going wrong with them, and the moment they have a chance to get on top, they just cannot figure out how to do that. Now let's talk about the CPUs. According to reviews, the 9700X could be just a rebrand of 7700X. In most benchmarks, the CPU performs just barely better than the last generation or matches the performance of last generation, and the 7800X 3D is still the gaming champ. Although AMD in their benchmark showed or indicated that the 9700X could be better than the 7800X 3D and definitely showed that in productivity benchmark it is way better than 4900K, they are not. They just straight up lied in their numbers. I don't know how they managed to calculate that numbers, but according to independent testing, well, it doesn't shows that. And my question is, where is the 16% IPC improvement? In most productivity benchmarks, it really doesn't perform well over to the last generation. The reason may be these CPUs are power limited in the name of power efficiency. In 65 watts, both CPUs cannot hit its rated max clock speed because of the power limitation. But Dorbauer found out if you turn on PBO, you get some extra performance, and it performs better in productivity or synthetic CPU loaded benchmarks. And at the same time, even if you turn on PBO, the gaming performance doesn't see a significant improvement. And on the other hand, Vex found out that turning on PBO might void your warranty. Here I was thinking PBO is a great feature because just by turning on a simple toggle, you will be able to use your CPU's full potential without any regrets. But guess what? I was wrong again. But for a minute, let's just wear our tinfoil hat. AMD might be doing this because of Intel's 14 and 13 generation situation. But again, this video is not for that. So let's get back to the topic. So as we established, the 9000 series performance is very underwhelming. So now let's talk about power efficiency. Yes, I cannot deny that AMD is taking the right step in the right direction. For past few years, companies have been increasing their power limits astronomically in the name of performance. These new Ryzen 9000 series CPUs are performing similarly to their last generation. And yes, they do consume over 65 watts, but in most tests, they don't go beyond 100 watts. However, the high-end Ryzen CPUs are not power limited. So when those reviews are out, we will get to know the real story. Is AMD limiting the power of their low-end CPUs intentionally so their high-end CPUs looks better so they can change the narrative? And if you haven't noticed by now, I haven't suggested anybody to buy these CPUs because nobody should. If these new generation of Ryzen CPU would have matched the price of last generation, I'm not talking about MSRP, I'm talking about the current sell value. That means I want these Ryzen 9000 series to be cheaper than what they are now and cheaper than the 7000 series, then the story would have been different. But all of these CPUs are $50 to $100 expensive. And yes, power efficiency is a topic that we all need to talk about. I have talked about power efficiency in so many of my videos, and AMD did that. Yes, these CPUs are way more power efficient to their last generation counterpart. And if you're not living in a place where your power bill cost way too much than your taxes, then you shouldn't be looking at these CPUs. All in all, I hate to say, this generation of Ryzen CPUs are the worst generation. Not as bad as FX series, because I think nobody can make as bad as CPU as FX series. Those are terrible. A lot of people bought those CPUs. I was one of those people who bought a FX series CPUs. So now, what would you do with all this information? Well, buy a 7000 series X3D CPU if you are planning to just game on your computer, and if you are looking for overall computational performance, look at 7000 series CPUs, or you can go to Intel if you still trust them, or the ultimate option, don't buy right now. Wait for the 9000 X3D chips, because I think 9000 non-X3D CPUs are working so that 9000 X3D CPUs could run. And yes, that was way too filmy. It doesn't suit me. But what I'm trying to say is that 9000 X3D chips are still going to be as power efficient as 9000 series. They're gonna have 3D V-Cache, which is a substantial improvement or a great feature if you are planning to just game on your computer. But also these CPUs are going to come with better memory speed, and also now with Ryzen 9000 X3D chips, you'll be able to fully overclock your CPU. In previous last two generation, you could not overclock your CPU. With 5000 X3D, you just cannot overclock. With 7000 X3D, you could overclock, but just the memory. But now you not only can have enhanced memory speed, but you also can overclock your CPU to your desire. And lastly, if you want to see detailed reviews about these CPUs, I have linked down some videos in the description, so go and check them out. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video if you liked it. If you hated it, dislike it. Tell me why you hated it. I need to know in the comment section, because that also will increase my engagement and it will get me more views, so I can earn more money, so I can buy these CPUs and tell you how bad they are. But until then, you can subscribe to my channel right here, and if you want to watch more videos from us, check out this video right here. And there's Akash, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.